What a sad, sad day, man. But boy, what a fight. Man, what a fight. Terrence Bud Crawford is officially the first ever 3 division undisputed champion in history. And just saying that gives me goosebumps. As we see, Nebraska is trending and New is trending. And right there at the bottom, Crawford trending alongside the man, the myth, Money Mayweather, who many believe after this fight, Bud Crawford is neck and neck with. But we'll get into that later. I want to cover what we saw tonight, their performances tonight, and I want to cover and apologize personally to this guy on the screen right now, Terrence Bud Crawford. Just, first and foremost, just round of applause, bro. Round of applause to this guy because truthfully, I owe him the biggest apology. I made a video earlier today stating that Terrence Bud Crawford had almost no chance to beat Canelo Alvarez. And I stood on it. I'm not going to take it back. I stood on it. And I stood on it not only this morning, I stood on it last week, I stood it the week before that. I've been saying for weeks now that I didn't think Terrence Bud Crawford had what it takes. I didn't think he had what it took to beat Canelo. I thought he was, the guy moving up 3 weight classes to fight a generational talent like Canelo Alvarez. I thought he was the older guy coming up to fight Canelo Alvarez. I thought he was going to be slower moving up to 168 since he originally fought at 147. I was thinking all these things was counting him out. I was wrong. And I will eat my words up simply because of the performance this man put on. I judged this man for the Madrimov fight he had at 154 where, in all honesty, he looked sloppy. Like, if anybody tells you anything differently, they're lying to you. Bud looked sloppy in that Madrimov fight. And the thing is, Madrimov gave Bud a harder fight than Canelo did. And that sounds crazy to say, but I'm looking at you when I tell you, Madrimov gave Bud a harder fight at 154 last year than Canelo gave Bud tonight. Bud walked through Canelo tonight. Bud made Canelo look easy tonight. And Twitter is blowing up. Max Kellerman just popped up on my trending now, taking the number 3 spot. Obviously, he was one of the main commentators for the fight tonight, but we just see the timeline filled. Terrence Bud Crawford is a new undisputed super middleweight champion. Crazy graphic. This is what Canelo saw in the Terrence Bud Crawford fight. A lot of people were putting this comparison way before the fight, saying, look at what Mayweather did to Canelo. Look at what Mayweather did to Canelo back when they fought. And I was one of those people that stood up and said, nah, Bud isn't Mayweather. And this is why I said we we're going to get to him later. I was saying, Bud isn't Mayweather. Mayweather was a completely defensive mastermind fighter. Like, he made Canelo look easy because of his style. He dominated Canelo based off style. Styles make fights, and his defensive Philly shell style destroyed Canelo and dominated him. I think Bud did better against Canelo than Mayweather did. And that's crazy to say. But looking back at it, and you might call it recency bias, but really looking back at it, I think Bud did better against Canelo than Mayweather did. Bud put a whooping on Canelo. Mayweather didn't put a whooping on Canelo. Mayweather made Canelo look easy, yes. He made him miss, he made him look easy, and he caught him with some good shots. Bud made Canelo look easy. Point blank period. Bud made Canelo look like an unexperienced fighter. Bud not only looked bigger than him in the ring, which has nothing to do with that clearly. I mean, weight classes, I still wholeheartedly believe weight classes still exist for a reason, right? I still think that weight classes exist for the bigger man to fight the bigger man and for the smaller fighters to fight the smaller fighters. I don't know if that logic applies to you if you're Terrence Bud Crawford, but I still agree with the fact that weight classes do exist. But I think Terrence Bud Crawford might be one of the few anomalies where that doesn't apply. Because seeing what we saw tonight, I don't know if this was maybe just an off night for Canelo. I don't know. I'm not too sure what it is, man. And I don't wanna throw out those allegations and start discrediting Bud for what he put out, because genuinely I feel like with saying that tonight wasn't Canelo's night, or he didn't perform as good as he performs against other fights, or he just didn't look like himself, I feel like that's taking away from the masterclass performance that we saw get put on by Terrence Crawford tonight. And I just don't want to take away anything from what he did, because I already counted him out so much leading up to this fight. I think the only thing we could do now is give him his flowers. But going back to the Mayweather and Canelo fight, I genuinely believe that tonight was Canelo's hardest fight. I think he looked like he struggled in there more than he did against Bivol, more than he did against the first Gennady-Golovkin fight, which I still think Gennady-Golovkin should have won. I think he struggled more in this fight than he did against Mayweather. Point blank period, man. Like look at this, man. This is disgusting. This is disgusting. Piers Morgan tweeted out, "I don't need the official decision. Terrence Bud Crawford just delivered a boxing masterclass to beat Canelo Alvarez. Magnificent performance from now the undisputed GOAT. Congrats, Terrence Bud Crawford." Look at that. Look at this screenshot, bro. When have you ever seen Canelo like this, man? Head fully turned around. Like, I don't think he's been hit this hard since the Gennady-Golovkin fight. And even then, in that Gennady-Golovkin fight, he looked like he was still stable. After some of these shots, man, Canelo looked like he wanted to back down. But can we just admire one thing? I made a video saying about how I didn't think that Terrence Bud Crawford was going to rehydrate that much more compared to Canelo. And Canelo usually comes in looking huge. This is probably Canelo he weighed in at 170. They both weighed in at 167.5. This is probably Canelo sitting at 182 pounds, 183 pounds. Bud looks bigger here. Bud looks like he's sitting around 183, 184 pounds. Bud looks huge. Look at him, bro. He looks like a bigger man than Canelo here. Genuinely, he looks insane. We move. Obviously, Bud, getting crowned. Man, just a masterclass, dude. Again, here's the video for that. Here's the replay. Let's go ahead and watch that. Look at that, man. Fully head turned around. Eyes never left Canelo, bro. He was staring Canelo down during that. It was just disgusting, bro. It was so bad, man. That was one of the most embarrassing defeats in Canelo's career, in my opinion, man. Just because, and I don't even want to say embarrassing, because it's Terrence Bud Crawford, man. That's Bud, bro. But in terms of, this not who they were as a person, because it was my mistake counting Bud out from the start. And I didn't count Bud out because he was Bud. I counted Bud out because of the circumstance. And being the smaller man, fighting at 147 all his career, moving up to 154 to warm up, going up against 168, fighting Madrimov at 154 and looking pretty bad. He didn't look good against that Madrimov fight, regardless of what you people want to say. He looked pretty bad against that fight versus Madrimov. Beat Madrimov. Moves up again to fight Canelo at 168, first time ever. Canelo campaigns at 168. Canelo's fought at 175 and, beaten guys like Kovalev at 175, knocked them out. Granted, he didn't look that good in the fight leading up to the knockout. Still knocked out Kovalev at 175. You can put any asterisks on that, saying that Kovalev was towards the tail end of his career with that, but he still did that. He fought Bivol. It was absolutely insane. We see more pictures. Just overall, man, it was such a dominant win. Look at this, man. He wasn't backing down from Canelo. The thing is that we thought Canelo was gonna walk him down, but look at this. Bud's not letting himself get walked down, man. It was nasty. It was nasty, man. It was nasty. That's the only. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I feel like people who don't watch boxing don't realize how insane this truly is. People, I had two people going into this fight. You either had the diehard Canelo fans who didn't watch boxing, or you have the diehard Crawford fans who also don't watch boxing and just vote for Canelo, or go for Crawford because they don't like Canelo. And then you have the boxing fans. And within the boxing fans is where the actual discourse was of who was going to win. No one thought it was going to be this dominant. I thought it was going to be a dominant win, yes. But I still thought it was going to be dominant for the standard of who was fighting. I still thought it was going to be a competitive matchup. I thought this was going to be closer to a Jermell Charlo-esque fight versus Canelo. Maybe more dominant than Charlo was. But this was just straight up. This was a landslide win. There was no competition here. And genuinely, I mean, look at Ring Magazine. They posted it. His belt collection is truly insane. Like they say, Ring Light, Ring WBO Light, Ring Super Light, WA Super Light, WBC Super Light, IBF Super Light, WBO Super Light, Ring Welter, Ring Super Middleweight now, WBO Super. Man, it is a stacked resume. And just looking at the way Canelo's performed, looking at the way he performed tonight, is it crazy to say that Terrence Bud Crawford can maybe also make that move up to light heavyweight, man? Like, it definitely is crazy to say, but is it so crazy to count him out is what I'm trying to get at. Yes, I don't want to be called a casual for that. I understand how outrageous of a statement it is to expect Terrence Crawford at the age that he's at, which clearly wasn't a factor tonight, but to move up to a 175 division and fight someone fresh like a better BF, like a Bivol. I understand how crazy that is, but I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't count him. I wouldn't count him to have a puncher's chance now. He's definitely shut my mouth. Like, it's truly insane. And the craziest part of it all is first time, three-time undisputed champion. This puts him as the only other fighters who have been held belts in three separate divisions. I believe are in three complete separate divisions are Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. If I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Manny Pacquiao had the WBC, right, and then Mayweather also held the WBC when they moved up, but he did it. He got the undisputed belts, beating Canelo, beating a generational fighter, which just makes it that more insane. Like, it wasn't just one belt like the WBC, like the other two had it. He is not only among elite company, he is among himself with no company. He is the only man ever to do it. I mean, the only other person to be undisputed was, I believe, currently at least fighting is Alexander Usyk. Usyk is two-time undisputed cruiserweight and heavyweight. Yeah, man, like it's absolutely insane, and just breaking down the fight has been what a tragedy for Canelo fans online. Truly, what a tragedy for fans like myself. Like, I was sad during this fight, but you can't be sad after seeing something like this happen. Like, Bud put a masterclass on. It was truly one of the best performances we have ever seen. So I don't think that you could, if you're a boxing fan, I don't think you could be sad after watching this, even if you're a Canelo fan, just because of how beautiful of a performance was put on. You were thoroughly entertained all 12 rounds, I'm sure. And I mean, I don't think there was a round where it even seemed close, right? Like, what? I think you could have given the 6th and the 9th to Canelo, or the 5th and the 9th to Canelo. I have no clue. I've seen people rate this score the fight a 10-2 fight. That's what I had it at. I've seen 9-3 fight. I don't think you could go anything past the 9-3 really. I mean, besides the 5th, maybe the 6th or the 7th and the 9th, I don't see which rounds you could give to Canelo, truthfully. But yeah, I mean, what's next for both of these guys, right? I mean, truthfully, Canelo, I would say a rematch is in the cards, probably. I'd be thoroughly surprised if he didn't sign a rematch clause for this fight. I mean, I'm sure that was part of the negotiations with Turki Al-Sheikh, to take that. Um, I mean, I would say the rematch is the proper way to go. I'm sure Canelo would want the rematch. I'm not sure if Terrence Bud would take the rematch. I'm sure he would, but I believe that he would want to fight. That'll add more to his legacy. I mean, he whooped Canelo. He doesn't need to give him a rematch, but I'm sure that's going to be in the cards next. I've seen Chris Eubank Jr. Call out Terrence Bud Crawford, but Bud makes easier work of Chris Eubank Jr. than what he did of Canelo. The only other fight I think would be good to see would be Jerome Boots Ennis versus Tank, and even then, I still have Tank. Not Jerome Boots Ennis versus Tank. Jerome Boots Ennis versus Crawford. No, I'm not thinking about Tank, bro. Tank's sitting at the 135 division. He's not going to move up to fight Terrence Bud or Jerome Boots Ennis at 168. No, I think Boots Ennis versus Crawford is the fight to make, more than likely. Even then, I still have Bud winning. You know, Boots Ennis was, I believe, 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks, training with Canelo leading up to this fight, if I'm not mistaken. He was sparring with Canelo, helping him, learn to learn to cut off the ring more. There was sparring footage that got released, I believe, yesterday or 2 days ago. This picture threw everyone off. They were like, oh yeah, it threw me off believing that Canelo had the fight in the bag. I mean, with such a sparring partner to prepare yourself with, like, you would only imagine that you'd be more prepared to cut off the ring. Boots Ennis being a southpaw, having a very similar style to what many believe is to be like Terrence Bud Crawford's, and overall I'm just in disbelief, man, for what we saw. Truthfully, one of the best boxing performances. Like, Bud Crawford was known to be a guy who really strives in the chaos. Not a big sweet science type of guy. You never saw him really slip punches and like do all this like really fancy footwork stuff. Known for having solid footwork, solid head movement, being able to take punches and deliver them, put people down. But man, this fight, he really upped his defensive game. He really upped his fighting game overall. I would love to see a Jerome Boots Ennis versus Terrence Bud Crawford fight after a Canelo rematch. I think a Canelo rematch, as much as I wouldn't want to see it because I feel like Bud would beat him again, is in the books. I definitely feel like this time next year we'll see a Canelo versus Crawford fight, and I do think that if that happens again, it would be a much closer fight. But after a night, I think Crawford's confidence is going to be thoroughly strong enough to believe that he could beat Canelo. And yeah, man, overall, crazy night. Absolute insanity. I mean, Crawford #1 trending, Max Kellerman at 2. Let's see why Max Kellerman. Oh yeah, Max Kellerman just getting some hate for glazing Canelo during the fight, which he was. Not gonna sit here and say he wasn't. It was definitely a very Canelo favorited crowd, Canelo favorited announcing team. I'm glad the judges didn't snub Terrence. I don't think you could snub Terrence after that performance, but I'm glad they didn't. Usually the A side tends to get the vote from Vegas most of the time, but I think it was just too much of a dominant win to do that. We have Omaha trending at #4, obviously. Again, Terrence Bud Crawford. More Bud Crawford. You have Benavidez, Martinez. Oh, nope. Benavidez, obviously, I'm sure wants that fight versus Bud. I'm sure wants that fight versus Canelo. I would want to see Benavidez move up to 175. I think he's too damn big for 168. If I'm being real with you, I'd love to see Bud versus Benavidez, but I think Benavidez needs to move up, man. Whew. The dude's too damn big. Straight up. Like, he's just too damn big. We have Martinez trending. Like, pretty good. It was a good fight, honestly. Anyone who watched this, I believe it was the second fight in the main card, right before the Fernando Vargas fight, which that was like I don't even know, man. Fernando Vargas Jr., bro. Like, that, the entire Vargas family is like screwed in boxing, minus Emiliano and Senior, right? Like, Emiliano looks solid as like a solid young prospect, and obviously Senior had his career, but I mean, not much else to say, not much else to cover. Usyk is trending. I'm sure people are now saying that Usyk is no longer top pound for pound fighter. Like, yeah, man. Honestly, just what a night. What a night for sports. What a night for boxing. What a night for Terrence Bud Crawford. Shut me up. Shut the world up. And now sits alone on the top of the boxing world. I think it's undeniable to put him top 3 greatest of all time, top 4 greatest of all time. It's undeniable. I think he's up there with the very best of the best. I don't think it's even crazy to say that he has topped Mayweather's career after tonight. I genuinely do believe that this man has made a name for himself, a legacy for himself, and hopefully he doesn't retire, man. I know that there was like rumors that with his 38th birthday coming up, this could have been the last time we seen him in the ring. He's been less and less active, only taking 6 fights in the last 6 years, but man, hopefully neither of these guys retire. I'd love to see a rematch. I'd love to see them run it back. I'd love to see them continue and, look for other fights, man. Continue building on their legacy, even though they don't have much to build on anymore, but I'd love to see them for as long as we could have them for. But overall, great fight. Absolutely amazing job by Terrence Crawford, and overall just what a night for boxing, man. What a night. Also, UFC was amazing. Shout out Diego Lopez. Dude dominated Lord Silva. I mean, how ironic that Lord Silva gets KO'd, or TKO'd technically, knocked down, by the same move that his buddy just used 2 weeks ago. Like 3 weeks ago, right? Like Carlos Prates getting the knockout with a spinning back elbow. And Lord Silva getting caught by it tonight, and that being like what cut him open and led to the TKO. I'll make a separate video on that entire thing, MMA Guru style. But yeah, honestly, this was just a really big yap session. It was kind of like an MMA Guru type of video, just talking, giving my thoughts on the overall fight. But yeah, man, what a night for boxing. What a night for Bud. Congratulations, Crawford. And, we'll see what else happens after this. Hopefully we see more defenses. I would be ashamed for him to call it. It would be a shame, and it would be a shame for boxing since it's such a talent that would leave. But, leave the game before it leaves you. So